Good day, farmers. Welcome to another session with Dr. Alex of Poultry Africa. Today, we'll be talking about feeding techniques. As you all know, feed contributes to about 70% of the total inputs in broiler production. With the ever-increasing high cost of feed in the markets, and which is not likely to come down anytime soon, it's very important that farmers understand the techniques in feeding their birds. If you don't understand the techniques and the right thing to do at the right time, it simply means that you'll be wasting feed, and wasting feed will be wasting money. Now, what are the feeding techniques? There are various techniques in feeding the birds. The first one is you must understand the feeder to drinker ratio when feeding. Now, it's important that the feeder is sufficient for the birds, which means that all the birds are eating at the same time. Now, if you don't take this into cognizance, what happens is that you're going to have some feeding while some are not feeding, and this is what results to uneven growth. So at 4 weeks, at 5 weeks, you want to sell, some birds are big while some are small. You don't want this as a farmer. So to get the optimal results, it's important that you understand the ratio. And what's the ratio? For younger birds, we advise that each 30 chick have one feeder and one drinker. But as they grow older, the number tends to reduce. For matured birds, we advise that each 20 birds have one feeder and one drinker. Also, you must understand that the time of feeding is very important. I would advise that for young birds that they are fed ad libitum, which means that they are fed for 24 hours at a stretch. This makes them improve their growth rate, especially at the critical stage of growth. It's also important that as they grow, you understand the time you feed them. Once they are 4 weeks old, we advise our farmers that at the peak of the day, when the weather is very hot, that you withdraw feed from them. At this point in time, the weather is already hot and there is heat already in the pen. Feeding them at this point in time is going to increase the heat emanating from their bodies, and because they don't have sweat glands, they cannot sweat and they may not be able to dissipate this heat. It can cause heat stress. Also, the height of the feeder. We advise that each time that the feeder is adjusted in cognizance with the growth of the birds. If you don't do this, you are going to make the birds uneasy and stressed even while they are feeding. Why do we need to adjust the height of this feeder to the growth of these birds? We don't want the birds eating while they are sitting down. We don't want this. Doing this is that you're going to reduce the gastrointestinal mobility. We are going to also increase the stress on even their legs. So as they grow, the advice is that the feeder is at the chest level at each point in time. You increase it. If you are using a hanging feeder, it's much easier. So as they grow, you increase the height of the feeder. But eventually, the feeder is not hanging, it's on the ground. You can also use wood or blocks under the feeder to increase the height. Also, we look at time forward for mixing the feed or for switching the feed. Most people switch from starter to finisher. Some stay you 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and so on. What is the recommended time for switching from starter to finisher? There is no recommended time. The time is based on the weight of the bird. So we advise our farmers that the proper time to switch from starter or super starter, as the case may be, to finisher is when these birds are 1.8 kg. We believe that at this weight of the birds at 1.8 kg, they have all it takes to pick the bigger pellet for finishers, and their body is matured enough to break it down without complications. Feeding. We also advise that the number of feeders in the pen is enough that the birds are eating at the same time. All the birds are eating at the same time. Failure to do this is going to result to an uneven growth. It's also important that you understand that while switching feed from starter to finisher or from one brand of feed to the other, that you observe the 4-day techniques, which means that it takes 4 days for you to switch your feed from start to finisher, or even to switch your feed from one brand of feed to the other. So what do? The first day, it's important that you know that the first day we are doing 100%. That means if you are giving finisher starter, we are giving it at 100%. At the second day, you are doing 75 to 25 ratio. So you do 75 starter, then 25% of finisher. The third day, you are doing a 50-50 ratio. The first day, you are doing a 25 to 65 ratio before you finally switch. It's called the 4-day techniques. Are you doing the 4-day techniques? If not, start today. Thank you.